Well, good morning, YouTube. Old guy 379 here. Still stuck in North Platte, Nebraska. The roads are still closed. I could get out of here and run a different route, but unfortunately, I can't even get out of the truck stop. I'm stuck at the Loves here, and all the driveways are blocked. Half the guys on some of the rows have trucks parked crossways in front of them. So, yeah, I'm not going anywhere for a while. So I thought I would just go ahead and throw another little quick video out here. One of the viewers, David Vidori, I hope I'm saying your name right, asked me a question, said, what was my worst winter driving experience? Oh, I would have to say, quite honestly, probably back about 1995. I spent from 91 until 2001 roughly, running mainly just the 7 western states, BC and Alberta. And one of the worst winters I recall it was either early 96 or late 95. Coming out of California, load of produce on, headed back for Spokane, and down in Corning, where I stopped and got fuel and was running with another driver, man, it was beautiful. It was like 60 degrees, 55 degrees, blue skies. We get up north of Cottonwood, start heading towards Redding, and it started snowing. And of course, we get to the base of Mount Shasta, and it's chain up time, and it needed it. It was bad, So we chained up, we ran over the hill, and we ran our chains all the way to Weed. And we got off there and took off and headed up 97, and we made it to just south of Klamath Falls, and it just turned flat freaking ugly again. Heavy wet snow, deep compact snow on the road. We got to the scale there at Klamath Falls, and they said, well, if you're going to go north, you got to put chains on. So we went ahead and chained up, beat our chains out of the chain racks, and got them hung on the tires, and up the road we went. We ran our chains all the way to freaking Crescent, Oregon, just south of Bend. And it was just, it was all compact snow, like I said, and it had to have been a foot deep on the road. It was just ugly, and trotting along there at 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, and it's over 100 miles up there. I want to say it's right around 120 miles or something like that. It took forever. And one of the things that was just, it made me chuckle a little bit, but I felt really bad for the guy. There was a interstate driver pulled off on the side of the road there going through Crescent towards the south end of town, who had parked there overnight. And by this time now it's daylight, right? And he was out there trying to put his tire chains on, but he pulled out from underneath his trailer and on top of that compact snow, and the trailer just sunk. And like I said, that stuff was about 10-12 inches deep. And of course, at this point now, his trailer's sunk down in the snow and his tractor's sitting on top of it, and there was no amount of airbag dumping to get underneath that. That's probably my worst winter driving experience ever, just because of the fact of having to run chains so far. And we didn't tear anything up, thank God, because the snow was packed down so deep that it just, it was like riding on a cushion. But yeah, that's probably one of my worst ones. The other one was winter in 99. I come out of Wenatchee with a load of apples headed for Safeway in Denver, and I got over about Rock Springs, and it started snowing. And it was the first time in my life, and probably I think one of only probably 3 or 4 times ever in my life I've seen lightning in a snowstorm. And I remember I pulled off the side of the road, one of the pullouts there, and I had to pee. So I got out, and in the time it took me to get out and pee and get back in the truck, there was about 2.5-3 inches of snow on the ground. It was just flat coming down. And Glenn being Glenn, I'm going to head for Denver, and I'm going to get there regardless. And it was so bad I was driving a T600 Kenworth at the time. I couldn't hardly see the end of the hood sometimes. So I'm trotting along there at about 15, 20 miles an hour, and then up to 30. It'd clear up a little bit, and I was driving from rumble strip to rumble strip. Nobody was behind me. Nobody was in front of me. And finally, I got over around getting close to Laramie. And I'm trying to remember. I haven't run 80 across Wyoming in so long. I'm trying to remember all the places. But at some point, the right-hand wiper arm got so loaded up with snow that it snapped and broke off. So all I was left with was the left wiper. I mean, it broke off. The wiper arm broke off right at the base. And, I didn't want to stop anywhere, because if somebody did come along, I didn't want them running into the back end of me. And I finally got passed by a couple guys, and they both followed each other right into the ditch about 6 miles up the road. But those are two probably of the worst winter driving experiences. Man, I don't know. I don't know how many of you guys ever seen lightning in a snowstorm, but oh my gosh, man, once that lightning started flashing and that snow came down, I have never seen in my entire life snow fall that hard, that fast, and just build up in such a short period of time as I did then. I made it to Safeway in Denver just fine. I got there on time. I had about 45 minutes to spare. Originally, I would have had about 6 hours. So it was a slow, ugly trip. But there's some advice in that too. I was in a safe spot. I should have just stayed right where I was at when the snow started. But once you're in that stuff, man, you cannot just stop alongside the road. That puts you and everybody else in a bad place, because if somebody can't see you. I'm not kidding you. There was times I could barely literally see the hood ornament at the end of the hood, let alone 60, 80, 100 feet down the road in front of me. And you don't dare stop. You've got to just kind of go by feel. And like I said, I'd hear the rumble strip on the right side, and I'd turn the wheel back to the left a little bit. I don't know how far it was, but 30, 40 seconds later, I'd hear the rumble strip on the left side. So I know my tracks going down the road must have looked like this. If the tracks would have been visible after I went through as hard as it was snowing. But yeah, those are the two worst. So there you go. If that answers your question. I have noticed, though, in being involved in management and having some trucks running east and west. I had a guy that ran for me when it was Bridger Steel was the company that I was managing the trucks for, and the warehouse and everything. And I had a driver that ran back to the Chicago area every week. And, I've noticed, and then I had a driver also based out of Casper for a while that ran down into Colorado and Kansas and out of our location down there. And I've noticed, looking back over time, and a lot of you older guys can probably confirm this, I don't recall roads being closed as often as they are now. And I think a lot of it has to do, and this is just my opinion maybe, the fact that there's a bunch more traffic than there was 20, 30 years ago. But I think it's also coupled with the fact that these states misappropriate their funds, and they're not taking care of the roads like they should. Now last night here on 80 in Nebraska, east of here, I know here the wind was blowing, but it wasn't snowing very hard. But I guess east of here, the snow was really coming down and the wind was blowing, and it was just absolute complete whiteout conditions. Snowplows aren't going to do you any good in that. But like on I80 across Wyoming, man, I can only think of one time ever in my career that I had to sit and wait for the highway to open down there. Maybe I was just fortunate, I guess. I don't know. But it sure seems like it happens a lot more. And I don't believe that the winters are near as harsh as they used to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I don't see the amount of snow that we used to get. Definitely the winds and stuff are worse, I think, than they used to be. It's like running across Montana. I noticed when I moved over there in 2011, and I drove for Ryder hauling windows for Anderson. And of course, in the wintertime, loads were light, pulling a 53-foot dry box. And after coming off of pulling a flatbed, that was the first time I'd ever really had to deal with the repercussions of wind like I did with an empty trailer or a really light trailer. And but man, like wind coming through Livingston and Big Timber up north, the wind is always blowing up north. I've run that Highline Cross Highway 2 a lot during my career. Most of it, a good chunk of it was during that 4 years hauling windows for Anderson, because that was my route, was from out of Billings up through Lewistown to Great Falls, Conrad, Chester, Havre, back over across Marias Pass, through the south side of Glacier Park over to Kalispell area, and then back around and wind my way down 95 down into Boise, and finish out Twin Falls, Burley, and then come back up through West Yellowstone back towards Billings. So my route ran me through a lot of 2-lane and a lot of crappy areas for weather and road conditions. But I don't remember the wind ever being as bad as it has been over the last decade. And maybe it's just me, I don't know. It may just be my perception and just my observation, and I'm just seeing things wrong. I'm not sure. But anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there. If you're stuck out here on I-80, man, be careful when they finally do open up the roads, because as we all know, everybody's trying to get going, and you're going to have a lot of people out there that have absolutely no clue how to drive in this stuff. And that makes it even more unsafe. It's bad enough that the road conditions are crummy, and we got to deal with that. But then you couple it with a bunch of and I'm sorry, new guys, but a bunch of inexperienced drivers, a bunch of four-wheelers that are all in a hurry. Everybody's behind. Just take it easy, be safe, and if you feel like you shouldn't go, don't go. I'm a big proponent of that. Don't get out there and do something you shouldn't do. Don't do like I do. There's times, like I said, I mentioned in my other video that I might be driving 50, 60 miles an hour when you guys think or somebody else thinks it's only safe to drive 30, but don't overdrive your abilities. And again, man, if you don't feel it's safe, don't go. It's all on you. And ultimately, whatever decision you make one way or the other, it all falls back on you as a driver. You're in control. You're the captain of the ship. And the captain of the ship always ends up taking the blame for everything that goes wrong. So make wise decisions. Be safe. I appreciate you guys. Man, just as a little side note here, this whole YouTube thing just started out just me wanting to throw some videos out there, just kind of answer some questions to some people that I know. And somebody had suggested to me that I should do these things, and so far it's going pretty good. I definitely have about 1,500 more subscribers than I ever figured I would, which is right about where my subscriber level's at. And the likes and follows and the shares, man, I am so grateful. It's actually very humbling. I could let this go to my head, but I won't. It's very humbling to me to be able to get on here and share my experiences and have the very positive comments that I get. There's been a few negative ones. There's been a couple, and there's a couple trolls out there already. I mean, just right off the bat, just wanting to see what they can start. And, I feel sorry for those guys, because that must be a pathetic lifestyle to live, that's all you have to do all day. But, yeah. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. There's several other channels on here that I've been watching for years, and I draw my inspiration from them. Being a photographer, there's a lot of photography channels on YouTube that I've followed over the years, and my content's nowhere near as interesting and as good as theirs is, but I'm glad somebody finds it entertaining enough to hang around for at least a third of the video. So we appreciate you guys. Like I always tell you, keep the shiny side up, keep the greasy side down, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Be safe out there. Seriously, be safe. And I want to talk to you again later. So I expect you to stay safe so we can go through more of this. All right? See ya.